Why do we have ailments like back pain, knee pains? Why are we immobile? Why are we weak? What is creating these problems that we have nowadays, where we say this is problems of our society, of our culture, problems of our modern age? Is something not fitting in that sense our nature, you could say. So what is creating problems? We are very adaptable. Like every other being is adaptable. We are very good in adapting to the demands of our environment. The principle is called SAID, S-A-I-D, specific adaptations to imposed demands. What does it mean? What you do, what you react to, what are the demands of your environment, you will adapt to. So if your environment is cold, you will adapt to the cold. If your environment is warm, you will adapt to the warmth. If you have to walk every day 10 kilometers, you will adapt to this. Yeah, you will adapt to until there's a point where this is no shock anymore. In that sense, you are not getting necessarily better and better and better throughout your whole life walking 10 kilometers, but you adapt to a point where this is normal for you, if before it was not normal. The thing is that normal nowadays can also mean to sit a lot, to be quite immobile, to not need your strength. And now the problems arise because you actually are adapted to move, you are adapted to have certain amount of strength, but if the stimulus is not there to maintain this strength, then you will become weak, and often so weak that this, in connection with the immobility, will create problems like back pain, for example. So we are adapted to move. Our joints need movement to be nourished. And if we are not moving, we are creating pains because we are creating calcifications. We become less good at movement, and in this sense it's often a self-fulfilling prophecy that people feel pain and feel they can move less good, and because they heard like, if you feel pain you should rest, then they move even less. And this creates a downward spiral in many people where they move less and less, and they feel pain through being through not moving enough, through losing their strength. And that's our predicament that we have nowadays. So our modern day architecture, culture is built in a way where we don't have to move much. Many people, they work on the computer, they work sitting on the computer, then they go home, they go in the car, or they go in public transport where they also sit, or maybe they stand but they're not walking. Yeah, even something like the bike is in a sense a seated activity, although it's active, but it's still like you're still in the same similar position from when you're sitting at the desk. Yeah, and then you go home, and then you also spend your evening there sitting on the couch. So the amount of sitting that we do nowadays has risen to an amount that became very problematic, also because we are sitting in sort of one way. We have our chairs, our perfect chairs, and we always sit in this angle that I'm also sitting at the moment. Yeah. So we went away from the floor where we were sitting, let's say, and when a long time of our existence as human beings on this planet, we were spending a lot of time close to the floor. But now there are chairs everywhere, and that's part of the immobility problem of what's creating immobility. Why? Because the chair is very smartly built. Like, it's built in that way that we can actually stay in one position for a very long time, especially if it's cushioned. Whereas when you're on the floor, you have to change more regularly. So if you're sitting 8 hours on the floor, you will automatically change more around compared to a very nice armchair or something like that, where you can spend a long time. So the convenience of the modern day is part of the problem. Obviously, it is very nice that we have all these things, yeah, and that we can choose to rest. Because not long ago, when many people were working in manual labor, in very hard labor, it was normal to not have the pain from immobility, but to have a lot of pain from repetitive motion, repetitive movements and hard movements. And the amount of people that, at least in a place like Western Europe, that have to work in such strenuous jobs is becoming less and less. So the amount of people that have pains in their body because they are moving under heavy loads and they move repetitively, and they just need to do every day 8 hours of carrying heavy material from one to another place, or just always repeating one motion and getting inflammations and pains from this. This is becoming less, but it is interchanged by people, yeah, as I said already, spending all their day seated and thus becoming weak, becoming immobile. So we want to search for the middle ground. Yeah, we don't want to have like this repetitive motions, this too much strain on the body. We don't want to just sit around and do nothing. And that's actually the opportunity that we have nowadays, that you can choose. Obviously, not always you can choose what you do in your work and how you do it, although many desk workers can choose to also do their work standing and at least have some interchanging, or have, instead of a chair, maybe something like a like, how do you say, like a box where they can do like Caesar on or squat, different positions, instead of always sitting on in the same position. And I think now it is common knowledge. It's getting common knowledge that staying seated is a problem. So you have options there, but especially you have options after your work. What do? Do you go home sitting on the couch? How do you go home actually? How do you do that? And it's not just that you have the possibility, it's actually an imperative that you make choices nowadays. We are living in the age where you have to make choices, because you have so many things that you can eat, you have so many ways to spend your life, so you have to make choices. It's a demanding time in that sense. It's a demanding time. You cannot just live your life blindly, because that might lead to sickness, pain, and so on and so forth. Yeah? Don't eat sugar all day. Don't sit all day. You need to take the correct action. Okay, but the problem that I observed is that with many people that come to my training and that are coming from all sorts of backgrounds, that they're very frail. And it already starts quite early, like also 18-year-olds, yeah, similar. But obviously also people that are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Where is this frailty coming from? Again, it's coming from not moving. So you get weaker, you get less robust. It's the same like being in a temperatured room the whole time. Like always, I don't know, 22 degrees Celsius. Yeah? So you cannot take anymore the heat, and you cannot take anymore the cold. You're just not adapted to this. You adapt specifically to what your environment is demanding from you. And if the environment is not demanding anything from you in that sense, yeah, if there's no shock, nothing difficult, then you will be not adapted to any difficult things. And once people start to move, this is something different, this is something new, this is difficult then for them. And people then sort of injure themselves. Injury is not the right word, it's more like they feel inflammations, they feel pain from things that are so, let's say, I would say normal or simple as a squat. So bending your knees or pulling yourself up, doing a pull-up, yeah, or push-ups and so on, like things that are nothing special, like nothing where there is a crazy load, you know, you're not jumping. Like the way that your knee needs to bear or your elbow needs to bear or your wrist in these positions is normal, like it's nothing big, but still like also young people and also people that are seemingly fit, you know, like people that are interested, that have done their things, also they are very frail. Yeah, and this can be sometimes like, okay, yeah, good, you did 3 sets of squats now, and now you feel your knee a bit. Why? Why is this happening? It's an adaptation process. As I said already, like we are not used to feeling pain. We think we can never do sports again. I feel some pain, I can never do sports again. And it frustrates me. I feel pain, it frustrates me. Pain is normal, you know? And it's part of the adaptation process. Obviously there are pains that are bad, that show there's a real injury, but often it's, I feel a bit of nagging here, and da da da. There's nothing serious. If you have not done anything for a long time, or never in that sense, yeah, then what do you expect? Do you expect that now you just do something and then everything works perfectly? And if you come from 23 degrees your whole life and you go out in the 3 degrees Celsius water, you feel pain. But it's not bad. Like, it's bad if you do too much, obviously, but probably your pain tolerance is not high enough to do it too much in the beginning. So accept that it's normal to feel your body and to feel something that you would probably call pain in the beginning, where you are, where you can be afraid of, now I'm afraid I'm injured, maybe I should go to the doctor, and so on. And usually what we do with people that we actively support through something like our online coaching or something, we adapt a bit the training. So we give them some extra strengthening exercises and so on. But actually the main thing about that for most people is just to wait and to continue. Just continue, do a tiny bit less, and trust that your body will adapt to it, because your body will adapt and you will become strong. Don't back off, like don't say, okay, I now feel a bit here, I stop. No, can do a bit less, can adapt it a bit, but continue, because this work that you're doing at the moment is just some push-ups, squat variations, maybe with a bit of turning. This you should be able to do, no problem. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 60, it doesn't matter if you're 20. Obviously it needs to be adapted for 60-year-old, because they sometimes already have like real injuries, like maybe a ligament is broken or something like that, or really some calcifications, but they still can do lots of things. And someone that is 20, most of the times they don't have any injuries. They should just do the work. Yeah, it's very rarely that there's from such things like squatting variations, things like putting your hands on the floor, crawling, or doing some pull-up drills, that you will have any serious injury, that anything that goes beyond like, okay, I feel pain and it disappears after a few weeks again. Yeah, because it's just a shock, like, oh wow, oh no, I never did this, I never was hanging here, and like all this pull on my joints and so on. It's like red flag for the nervous system. I send pain, please don't do this. No, everything was so nice, like I was just we were just sitting here and there was no danger. Now why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? Why do you start with that? That feels not good, and so on and so forth. Don't listen to this too much. Like, don't become so sensitive. It's a negative thing to be sensitive, to be too sensitive. Yeah? You don't want to be too sensitive. Of course you want to feel and you want to be aware of what's happening. But it's not like, yeah, I feel there's the touch, I feel there's the pain. Okay, and I can act with it, but it's not, oh no, the cold water, the cold water, I feel the pain. It's okay, and I adapt to it, and I become stronger, because what does it mean in that sense? Strength. It means things are possible. Yeah, I can go into the squat, it's possible. I can pull myself up, it's possible. I can go into the cold, it's possible. I have freedom. It's just freedom through accepting that if I go always for the highest comfort, then my comfort zone will shrink, will become smaller and smaller. So I have to make sure my comfort zone stays wide if I'm interested in having freedom, because otherwise I will reduce my freedom more and more and more, and it's my choice. We live in the age of choosing. So accept the following truths. If you don't move, if you don't expose yourself to stressors like movement, like cold or fasting or all this stuff, you will become weaker and you will create pain that is not voluntary. Because the pain that you create through a training, the pain that you create through going into the cold, that's voluntary pain. It's relatively easy to deal with because it's voluntary. Yeah? Truth number one. Second one, if you do too much, there's a problem. So if you work without any technical tools, without any electrical or combustion engine tools in a coal mine every day 8 hours, that's obviously too much for most people to go through life without pain. They will be, if they're 50, if they're 60, they will feel the wear and tear that also in our society people still feel if they have to work a lot on their knees every day, You can do too much. You can do too much and can be too much. So that's the second truth. Third truth, if you are coming from a place of weakness, of unadaptedness, you will feel some pain. If you come from the warmth into the cold, you will feel pain. If you come from immobility, from not moving much into movement, you will open up some things. Yeah? Then the eggshell cracks. That's it. It's your choice.